Sully here, the retired tanker yanker. Welcome to Transitions, my YouTube channel. Today, I'm presenting episode 5 in my series, So You Want to Be a Truck Driver. But before I do that, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome any and all new subscribers. And if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, why not? Please become a subscriber. And it's easy to do. Just hit that subscribe button in the description and be sure to like, comment, and share. I'd like to grow this channel, and the only way I can do that is by getting more subscribers, getting comments, getting likes, and getting shares. And don't think that, well, I don't have to subscribe because somebody else is going to do it. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. I'd like to get this channel up to at least 100 subscribers by the end of this month. Particularly by the 25th, which is my birthday. Well, the topic of today's video is the Federal Hours of Service Regulations, which is probably the most important aspect of this business. Hours of service is by far the biggest reason drivers are put out of service, and violations of these regulations are taken very seriously. Because of HOS violations, that we now have the beast that we call electronic onboard recording devices. They are mandatory in all trucks, and they have been since November of 2017. Now, there are some exceptions, but these exceptions are so precise that it is almost next to impossible to become exempt. So your EOBR, or sometimes called an ELD, which stands for electronic logging device, is a required piece of gear. The EOBR records every hour you are at work. The regulations are very complicated, and to somebody outside the business, they seem like gibberish. And to simplify them is a gargantuan task, but I will try. Now, basically you are allowed to drive a maximum of 11 hours before you are required to take a 10-hour break. But 14 hours after you come on duty, regardless of how much driving you've done, you are required to take a 10-hour break. Additionally, within 8 hours after coming on duty, you are required to take a 30-minute break. And failure to do these things will mean that you have to sit. You're not allowed to drive legally. Now, when you take that 8-hour break, 30-minute break after 8 hours, you get a new 8 hours, but again, up to 11 hours driving or 14 hours. Like I told you, it's complicated. 14 hours regardless of duty status. 14 hours after you come on duty, you have to go off duty. Now, there are provisions where you can take say an 8-hour sleeper berth break and 2 hours off duty. Then you go back to the end of the 8-hour break, and that's when you start your new 14. But the 2-hour break that you're required to take has to count towards that 14. You get a new clock, but you have to combine the time from that 8-hour break with the time you drive after the 2-hour break. And we also have something called the 70-hour 8-day rule. Basically, if you have a total of 70 hours either driving or on duty within an 8-hour period, you have to shut down until you get the time back. It's basically 144 hours. But if you take a minimum of 34 hours off duty, the 70-hour clock resets back to 0. Have I confused you yet? It is very confusing, and it is very complicated to understand. By the time you get into driving a little bit, you will know exactly what you can and can't do. And this is where your EOBR becomes useful, because it automatically calculates how much time you have remaining and when you need to take your required breaks. But that's not why the ELD mandate came about. Television stations love to sensationalize things, and truck accidents, while they're less common, draw more attention because of the amount of damage and delay they cause, basically. A truck is involved in about 9% of all traffic accidents. Now, so-called public watchdog groups point out that trucks make up about 3% of all vehicles. Therefore, they're having an inordinate amount of accidents. What they don't tell you is that, first of all, that includes all commercial vehicles, not just Class 8 trucks. And the 3% of vehicles that are Class 8 are both tractors and trailers. And if you work for a company that has, say, 1,000 trucks, they're going to have 10,000 trailers. So those non-power units are also included in that 3%. Another thing that these public watchdog groups fail to point out is that trucks account for 15% of all miles driven. And another thing they conveniently forget or leave out is that trucks pay 35% of the taxes, which fund road repair, road maintenance, infrastructure, and other revenues which pays for support personnel and police. Also, when you're on the toll road, trucks pay a higher rate of toll. It goes under the false assumption that trucks, because they're bigger, cause more damage. But the truth of the matter is, pound for pound, trucks cause no more damage to the road than autos. These watchdog groups have for years been calling for stricter enforcement of traffic laws regarding trucks. Now, this is just my opinion here, but some of the four-wheelers out there are just so irresponsible, and the enforcement of the laws regarding cars is nowhere near as strict as trucks. But these people are causing most of the accidents. And another thing that these watchdog groups don't point out is that of all the accidents involving a truck, 72% of truck accidents are directly not the fault of the driver. The driver is totally not at fault. This has been pointed out in several different studies conducted by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the Federal Highway Administration, the Department of Transportation, the National Transportation Safety Board, and even the American Automobile Association. In fact, the American Automobile Association was trying to debunk these studies, so they did their own study, and they just came to the same conclusion based on science and data. And it was such an embarrassment that the vice president of AAA was forced to resign. Now, another thing you have to remember is a lot of people are afraid of trucks out there. And they don't mind telling people that they're afraid. And also, for the longest time, it was almost a tradition for drivers to falsify their logbooks. But as technology advanced in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, it just seemed to invade our industry. Other countries have been using electronic logs for years, and studies there have shown that there is no significant decrease in accidents. However, a decrease in truck accidents where the driver is found to be at fault either partly or fully. That is because as drivers get better, the four-wheelers are getting worse. And in a lot of the instances where the driver of the truck is at fault, it could be attributed to road conditions, weather conditions, mechanical issues, things like that. But you're forced to comply. You have an EOBR, and it puts a real crimp in your ability to do your job. Because time at the dock is included in that 14 hours. You're shut down, you're waiting, you're sitting in your cab, they're taking their sweet time. You're not making any money, and your clock is tick, 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 ticking down. You get stuck behind an accident where traffic is at a stop and you can't move. Your clock is tick, 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 ticking down. The system is broken. But some white coat sitting behind a desk at a computer screen who has never been in a big truck ever in his or her life thinks that they know better than you or me, right? Yeah, right. Now, currently there is a proposal which will allow you to not count any time spent waiting for loading and unloading towards that 14. My opinion is that this is a step in the right direction, but it doesn't go far enough. Any time that you spend waiting for loading or unloading, or spend stuck in traffic, any time should not be counted towards your 14. That is something that is beyond your control, something that you do not have the ability to do anything about. Now, some people will say that this will also create a new opportunity for drivers to cheat on their logs. So what's the answer? It's simple. Hourly pay. I spent 9 years working for a U.S. mail contractor, and we were paid hourly. U.S. mail contractors are covered by something called the Service Contract Act. The Department of Labor sets the hourly rate, not the company. And that rate is based on, number one, where you live, number two, the cost of living where you live, number three, the prevailing wages where you live. So somebody who lives, say, in Dubuque, Iowa, will not receive the same rate of pay as somebody who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. And somebody who lives in San Francisco will not receive the same rate of pay as somebody who lives in Destin, Florida. But it is a fair rate based on what you need to live. And it's an hourly rate. There's no time and a half for overtime because trucks are still exempt from that. But it pays you for all hours spent working, all hours on lines 3 and 4 of your log, driving and on duty not driving. My answer is just extend the Service Contract Act to all truck drivers. Not only do you receive an hourly wage under the Service Contract Act, you receive what's called health and welfare pay for up to 40 hours. And you use this to pay for your health insurance, your 401k or pension, and anything you don't make over and above that you don't use for paying for benefits like health insurance or pension. Any money you make over and above that, up to 40 hours, is considered taxable wages. Now, if we do these things, we don't force the driver to shut down, not get paid. We allow the driver to drive, because that's what you do. You're a driver. You drive. You're not a waiter. You don't sit and wait. Get paid for all the hours you work. That is the best system. I mean, they do it in the European Union and in Great Britain. Drivers are paid by the hour. And I'm telling you that if drivers are paid an hourly rate for every hour they work, compliance will be 100%. Drivers will be safer because they'll be better rested. They won't feel the stress. They won't feel that the whole world is on their back. They can take their time to be safe, and performance will improve. It addresses safety and compliance, and that's what these watchdog groups want, right? Well, that's my opinion anyway, so tell me what you think. Comments are always welcome, and please, if you're watching this video and not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification bell, and give this video a big thumbs up. And if you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter, be sure to go on YouTube to hit that like, subscribe, and share. So be safe out there, and be sure to check out my future videos in this series, including the upcoming videos I'm going to make with driver interviews. I might have one going on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, with somebody that you might know. But all I can tell you is hang in there. Keep an eye out for future videos. Subscribe, like, and share. Give me a thumbs up. And for Transitions, this has been Sully, the retired tanker yanker. Safe and happy travels.